So we ran out of what I had thrown in for today's agenda. We'll just grab from the next couple days and see where we go. Let's talk about third-party CI.
Oh, let's just keep the fun going.
Yeah. We need to decide what our actual real criteria that we. I remember the discussion. Yeah. I think Walt, you put that in there. That was your intent of this discussion, right? Is to figure out exactly if it's this criteria.
After CI is failing or not reporting, how long do we?
So first of all, why are the CIs failing?
A million different reasons. A million different reasons.
Okay. Is
Some
it like,
of them are infra, some of them are.
Okay. Well, hold on. Give me something to work with. Like I can't work with like a million different reasons. It's like so big that I can't even.
CI hardware is being moved to a new location.
Okay. Right. There we go. There's the first stop. Okay. So in the past, do people remember how we solved those? No. Communication. There would be somebody that would say, report, hey, we got this thing, we're doing this move, and it'll be from 2 weeks. I don't know, something like that, right? And then you check on the person, hey, why is it still down? They give you some bullshit reason. You wait a little bit longer, and then you start with the emails of calling out.
How long do we give them when they keep saying?
There's never been an explicit rule.
Which was the question that started.
Well, no, but I'm saying though, it's never been out of hand. Like the cases that I have dealt with in this have been usually around 2 weeks. And otherwise, people, when it was longer than that, they would communicate, hey, still hitting the snag or whatever the issue is. And wait, it has never been that big of an issue.
Like you're saying that every person you ever talk to, that should pick up their space.
Yes, because I mean, like I would actually go back and check with a person. I would leave a note for myself to check with that person. Now, that leads me to another problem that there is nobody that's actively doing that.
Well, we've communicated with a few of them, and we usually get, oh yeah, we're working on that. We think we'll have it done soon.
Yeah.
And
let me tell you the difference, though. I think if you can reference some of my previous emails to the mailing list, especially when I would say, hey, I'm expecting X amount of tests to be ran, and I'm noticing these CIs are not doing this. You know how quick people were to respond back to me and how quick they got to working on those things? I mean, what happened with the enforcement there? I mean, people were at the freaking fingertips of, like, anything being a problem, and that right there has changed.
Yeah, it's changed because we have a lot more CIs and a lot more people.
I don't think it's a lot more CIs. I really think that it's just a lack of that there's been any enforcement on the thing. And there's not, people, instead of beating around the fucking bush about the thing, just like, fuck, this shit ain't working. Fix it. And if it's not working, fucking remove it.
The few people I've emailed about it did get back to me straight away, even if they didn't fix it straight away.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, like, there's no beating around the bush of this thing. Like, because as soon as you start doing that, then you lose all respect from people of wanting to have these things running. And then the priority issue, the priority that my manager won't blah, 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 whatever, that didn't become an issue once removals start happening. And that there was somebody communicating that. Because as soon as, like, again, I go back to that thread of where, like, I noticed, like, the smallest thing about, like, I think there was, like, I was expecting, like, 90-something tests or whatever to be ran, 190, whatever. And then there were, like, I don't know, 4 CIs. And 2 of them got back to me within the same hour saying, oh, crap, is this good enough? Is this good enough? Like, instantly. So, but that leads me to the other thing that I wanted to talk about in this thing, and is exactly what exactly is expected on the individual OpenStack projects, because it's not just Cinder alone. I mean, Ironic is now starting to go down this pathway as well. Neutron has their ups and downs on this thing as well, which also go with the same thing that I wanted to talk about here, and that's like, what is expected from the projects? Honestly, I don't really think, and to some degree, agree with Armando on the mailing list about I mean, my view has changed since Tokyo, I think it was, of the projects actually being the ones to police this idea. And the reason why is just because it doesn't work. I think Cinder is like an excellent case of like where, you know, as soon as like there is a loss of interest of anybody to actually police the thing, it doesn't work. And then people just are unhappy with it. So instead, I would say there is a group that is interested in a healthy marketplace, and it goes back to people like DEFCOR. Ben mentioned that you said before Tokyo, or was it during Tokyo, that they weren't interested in that?
The impression I got in Tokyo was
Yeah. Yeah. So, and Armando brought to my attention, so because there was like immediately after the Austin summit, like somebody sent this ranting email to the thread, to the list about, oh, Neutron wants to rip out or remove all the drivers. They just don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. And it's like, well,
And they've done that, right?
well, and it was like, okay, so to clarify, you're already out of tree. And second of all, the whole point of that statement that Armando made was the fact to face reality that he can't police, the team itself cannot police all the drivers that exist and say that they work. So what does he do? Well, he points to the marketplace on the OpenStack.org site, which is pulling off of the repository driver log. And I will tell you today that that whole thing is absolute BS because there is no validation on that. Armando expecting to drop validation onto that thing is ridiculous. The people who have access to that is Morantis, and they have the access to it. I looked into it, who controls that. And I can tell you right now that they're not actively looking at every single driver that gets proposed in there. When I was actively working on the CI stuff, and as well as interactions with the different vendors, I was policing that repository. In fact, I removed a bunch of BS drivers in there that were never in tree. So I guess what I'm saying is if there's a group, example DEFCOR, that is interested in a healthy marketplace, then there needs to be, they should be the ones that should be actually policing these things, but they should be policed off of what the projects want them to be policed off if they have any form of interest in what the criteria is. But already today, they pulled in, they already do this, especially with new drivers today for certification. It's a program way back when I was PTL that we agreed to that they would have for new drivers coming in that have to actually pass those tests. And they are policing off of those new drivers. Existing drivers were grandfathered in. So I think that they should have that, but two, they should have the tools to be able to do that. And right now, it's not sanely possible. I pointed to ideas of improving ideas like what Tintri has already done with the CI dashboard. But to start off with, I don't think they should host it. I think that should be an infra-hosted thing. It's not reliable to depend on them to host that. And I think Infra would be more than happy to host it for our reasons and for all the rest of the third-party reasons, because they're also not just looking at Cinder, they're looking at Neutron and so on, with the very few drivers that are doing that. And I know Ironic is interested in doing it. Yes, Walt?
Is there any chance we can get to the question that I posted on?
Well, can't be defined right now because it's completely fucked. So I'm trying to tell you right now that right now there is no enforcement with vendors right now. It's absolute anarchy right now.
Well, I think that's part of the question.
Yeah. So no, you can't say how long, because we're not even working with people right now on to be successful right now to enforce.
The response we get back from a lot of vendors is, well, what's the policy? When do I have to have this done by? And then unless we define what that policy
I have a
is.
vested interest because of what's going on with that company that I have that still currently working.
Yeah.
I know what's going on internally,
Yeah.
and I see what is going to happen in the not so distant future, and I want to know what the official Cinder policy is before we can tell a particular vendor that you're starting to run out of time.
I don't think we can because we don't have any way to actually police the thing. So how do you expect to say how long?
You shouldn't actually PTL in the person who's policing it. Like
Well,
you did
then
when you
why didn't Sean do that to begin with? I mean, I'm just saying, you can't, like, there was nobody to actually, there's no dependable person right now.
So
I
that's what-
stopped doing it, so.
Could there be a vendor?
Vendors that are not doing CI, so.
I've been minus one in reviews, minus two in reviews because they're
Then
not-
why is it a problem then?
It's a
Why?
problem because we don't have a policy saying
That's
this is, you must be now.
No. So I remember like last week on IRC, people saying, "Oh my gosh, third-party CI, absolute chaos, whatever." And I mean, probably, I don't know, I haven't looked at it.
Well, then if you don't know when you haven't looked at it, then why are you going on and on criticizing other people and talking about what they should be doing?
Because I'm saying though, I was quite happy with the way things were going until I walked away.
Well, then step up and go back in and do what you were
No,
doing.
because I'm responding back to people that are saying, "Oh my God, third-party CI, like, okay, let's remove it." And it's like, no, it was a fine program, but we just have to have enforcement.
Hang on. So isn't the question then, though? You've got a third-party CI, vendor A, okay, and they've not been reporting for the last 2 weeks. You've got to turn around to them as the PTL and say, you've not reported for 2 weeks, you've got another week to sort it out where you're at. Isn't that the simplest thing?
Yeah, yes, that's all I'm asking. What is the
I don't
official?
understand what
community
the whole
agreed
discussion going
upon.
on. We just need to pick an arbitrary time
Yes.
that says, bang.
Yes,
Yeah.
so it's
Otherwise, we
public.
keep contacting
No.
those vendors, which we have been doing, and they say, yes, we're working on it, sorry, it's not working.
And giving
And then we come
excuses
back
all
2
the
weeks
time.
later,
It just
and
goes
say, yes,
on and
we're
on and on
working
and
on
on and on, and you can't
Yeah.
get anything done. You have to be hard and
Yeah.
firm
Yeah.
and just say,
And we
"We
can't
have to."
point
Well, that's what I was
back
saying around
to-
earlier. It's like people beat around the bush and stuff. It just
So we just need to put
Yeah.
we don't have a policy in place. Let's put a policy in place that is implemented by the PTL of the day, because they're responsible
All right,
for
Except
the.
I would add that it shouldn't necessarily be implemented by the PTL. Because I think that the PTL probably works, his
Yeah.
schedule is probably full
Oh, okay.
all day, every day.
Yes,
So
but-
Whatever.
I think it's
not who,
should be
they're just-
implemented by.
it goes back to
Someone.
the policing problem. Who's going to do it?
The
Well,
thing is, if we have this, we don't have to have a single person that's policing this and spending time. We got great tools like the CI stuff that Matt's done. You know, we can tweak whatever with Tintry, but if we have this policy, we can script some of this. It can automatically contact these guys and say, hey, you have this amount of time left. And if they don't get to that point, then they're gone. And it's not a matter of someone remembering, oh, shoot, yeah, I should get back to this.
But also if, say next week, I have lots of free time and I'm doing lots of reviews on drivers and I can look this stuff up, I can
Yeah,
reference a
you can-
policy and copy and paste that line in the wiki or wherever it is and say, hey, you haven't been reporting for 2.5 weeks. You're in trouble. You're about, I can't point anywhere right now.
Yeah, right.
I can't tell my manager, I can't tell my new manager that's taking over the stuff what the policy is and make them scared.
Okay, cool. I'm glad
I
somebody's
really
gonna do
just
it.
want something that I can point to and say, hey,
Absolutely.
The
If
thing
the
is,
date makes you feel great, good.
it needs to have a date, a number of days or weeks.
or whatever
And
it
it needs
is.
to have an exception policy, so that something can be filed that is a patch maybe that can get approved or disapproved that says, I need an extra 2 weeks because X, Y, Z or whatever, our building burned down.
I see I didn't died.
Because if you don't have that, then
I want pictures.
you
And
Where did it happen?
I mean, the exception could require.
Yeah.
an exception policy.
But the policy needs to be written down. It needs to be on a website
Yeah.
somewhere
Yes.
that people can reference.
Right.
Because
The
otherwise
policy
it's
has to
just,
be
oh yeah,
something
so
that can
you just
be
say it's too.
very public,
Yeah,
like
whatever
file a
the
patch
date is, I
that
don't
says,
care.
here's why I need an exception, and it gets approved, or people -2 it because it's like, that's bullshit. You had that last time, but put something that's very public and reference.
Enforced by the community, not by an individual
It's,
person.
it
Yes,
it
the
can't be
community.
enforced, it
The
can't be the
community.
detail's job, it has to be something that, anybody could do, or a designated.
I just know that certain people that are implementing or maintaining CI are not going to take anything seriously or get worried until.
It's fine. We could do, what was it? Liberty all over again. Or Kilo.
Yeah.
Well, how about
Push
this?
patches up.
X number of days or weeks, and that's when the patch goes up to revert, and that patch gets merged after another,
All right.
or whatever.
End of the
Whatever.
current milestone.
Well, that's the only comment I there is I think put something in the cat on
Yeah, yeah.
We've done that, and I think it's ridiculous. Because.
I took a lot of flack for that.
Well, I don't even remember who did it. I'm not trying to blame.
Well, no, it was a different.
But those of us that are trying to make a product out of this kind of would like to know what's going to be. And it's going to disappear within a week. So,
God, you're picky.
Yeah, you got to, people might be on vacation and they're the only person who's had to
I mean,
say,
that's the definition of something big breaking feature. Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is fair enough.
Okay. What's the date?
I don't know. I mean, I was inclined to say milestone 3, but
Is it?
I'm not really sure what the rest of it is.
Well, that's good for a one-time go. I think we were looking for an interval.
Oh, well, that's a whole different
No,
thing.
but it needs it all, right?
Yeah.
I think both an interval and here's the date in the cycle.
Okay. So let's say for this time around, we say to the next milestone, and then the interval is 1 month. Throwing it up.
To milestone 3.
Yes.
So I don't have to fix my CI until milestone 3, basically.
And if a problem arises after milestone 3, nothing gets removed until the beginning of the new release.
Wait, we can remove before milestone 3, but after milestone 3,
We're frozen until the new release, until the new tag. And then, by the way, if you miss the other criteria, the first day of that new tag, you're out. The first day.
So my CI can be broken for 4 weeks.
Well, number of weeks, that's the whole
that's
thing.
what I'm saying, you should be 30 weeks, so I'd say 2
Right,
weeks.
right. But what he says is separate, which is,
It was different
if we're about to package up a distro, we need to know that you're not going to take something out the day before we
I like the idea of 2 weeks, and then the review to get rid of yours goes up, and then you have that additional week. And essentially as a sign of, we're serious, we're going to take this out.
One is sort of the warning, and one is sort of you're fine.
Okay. I would also.
I'm gonna do this. No, really. No, really. I'm gonna do it. Here I go.
So I would also add in though too, it would be good of recognizing specifically for the vendors that are trying to game the whole thing of only working, here and there, of that we do actually apply history of that driver as well unreliably. I think it would be sort of obvious of somebody doing that, and these would be rare cases, of course, but or maybe not. It might be accidental rare cases.
Well, I guess that means that we have to have an average number of reports that we would expect from people. So what would that be?
Well, I mean,
So if Jenkins is,
before we could do that, though, we have to have like a way. Does your thing measure it? Oh, okay, cool.
well, it gets the number of reports within an X number of days.
Uh-huh.
So if the X number of modified patches that have Jenkins plus ones or whatever, and you've reported them
That's
this
key.
So, like, if Jenkins has reported this many number of times, how close to that number should he be?
Plus or minus 20%. The plus is really weird. I don't know how you get that, but
Like, do we want to make sure that they're hitting at least half of them?
I think to start.
Because I know that
Yeah.
some people's CIs take longer than others, and so if you're only able to report on half of them, I think that it's understandable as long as it's consistent half.
Yeah.
But if you go really long stretches of time without reporting on any of them,
Yeah, so the first period, if you stopped halfway through, it's 50%, but then as we check next time, it's going to drop down and then you'll be in that.
I've said this before. Frankly, as long as you have something posted once a week, I don't really give a crap. I mean, it's not great, but
it sounds like exactly gaming the system.
Well, that
Like,
depends
if I
on
could
what.
just manually run this.
I would want a little more than once a week.
I mean, that depends on what the ultimate goal is of the reporting. I think people have different views on that.
So when we first started this, I know people talked about having things go to voting, right? And other than the open source ones, that's not happening, and it's probably not ever going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think the main reason we haven't tried to do that is just the failure rate that we see
Yeah.
all over the place.
Well, also, I mean, it's kind of a crappy idea, right, if you think about it, because you have a proprietary one that nobody else can fix, and the person's not around, and nothing merges.
We had an IRC.
We went talk merges, but I think when we talked about it, the thing was the only reason to have voting was Duncan thought it might
really
Right.
no benefit.
Yeah, we had a meeting discussion on this, and there was no value in it. So, aside from stuff, but so that was also controversial.
Did you get, oh, good,
Yeah, making stuff voting.
Yeah, since it didn't work, I mean, the fail rate on it at first was 60, 70%.
Well, maybe the criteria that Matt Reedman was like, we're not going to allow it until you improve that, and him and Dan spent the time.
How about,
Do it.
in that revert
that
patch
was the
is where
only-
you get to ask for your exception.
Yeah.
Where back? And that's
Well,
public. and people-
okay.
But their comments, and if
Yeah, 'cause
people
it
say, you know,
provides a forum for it.
no, you
Yeah.
suck. Or if people say, I think we should, yes, I think we should, yes, I think we should, then maybe. But that gives a public place for an exception to be requested. People come.
Obviously, no bribery can be done at that point. Public.
Private.
Yeah, let's not rule that.
Bribery is always an option.
So what
Okay.
if the driver is
Bribery acceptable.
already removed, then how long can they like try to get it back again? Like once you remove it.
Re-acceptance criteria?
Well, that's actually come up where some of us
Yes, we did that last time.
straight reverts of the removal, we're coming back in.
Yeah.
And then if they need additional fixes, do they cram them all into that review, or do we review them separately?
I mean, you could have a depend on the revert, maybe.
That's what I would do. personally.
Yeah, I think
Some
that's fine.
people- Some people haven't liked that, but I don't know.
What were their reasons? You remember?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, everybody here agrees with it. So
Wait,
we'll reference.
What do we all agree?
Re-adding the driver back, you do the revert, the removal, and then if there were like patches that needed to fix it in order for it to work, you just have depends on that revert. That's all. Yeah. Okay.
That 50% thing needs some kind of time period for that to be.
Within the 2 week.
Maybe indent that over.
If Cinder changes between the time you take the driver out and you put it back in, you can't just do a revert, you have to fix it.
Dependency change. Oh,
Yeah, but there's a big benefit to being able to review it and know that, you know, that you can tell what was fixed, because it's in separate
If
patches.
Cinder changed, delivery of
You can't just revert the removal.
yeah, it won't go.
Yeah,
It won't.
because these are so big
Depends
CIs.
on-
You just ensure that the final one in the chain is passing the fence.
Wait, are you saying the revert doesn't pass Jenkins
Yeah.
or Zul V3 now?
Well, that's the first change. Oh, that's a good point. So they might have to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sometimes you can't just revert it and expect it to make it pass. 'Cause if enough time passes, Cinder should look very different.
That is true.
Well, yeah, but you can.
You can see that the last one in the chain passes Jenkins, and then you can go back and merge.
Well, the other
So
thing
you
is
can-
No,
you can rebase. You can rebase it against master. It shouldn't impact the driver. I mean, there's going to be special cases. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
So we can.
So we accept
I
special
get
cases.
what the goal is, but I think you're going to find exceptions.
Okay.
You think
I
it's gonna
think,
be pretty
but I
often?
still think they're going to be pretty rare, though. Like for Cinder to change enough to.
If it's just like a week and they get it-
Oh, I fully expect people to be pretty quick on removal,
If it's painful
even
to
if
get
it's
the
too
driver
late.
back in, then so what? That's kind of
Yeah.
the point.
But I agree, Ben, and we'll deal with those cases on a case by case. And
So
so,
if we kick a driver out after the new driver acceptance deadline, is that just it for that release, or are we gonna let him back in?
No, that should be it.
Yeah, I think we should let them back in. If they fix things within that release cycle.
It'll have to be a deadline, though, to the way you left it back in.
I think it's milestone 3.
So it goes to milestone 3.
On
Yeah.
Milestone 3, they must have their CI stable, reporting more than 50%, meeting the criteria.
And they have to get reviewed, because if it's the day before milestone 3 and people don't review your reversion and the patch you have to do to fix stuff, then, you know. sorry.
Yeah, this brings up the old question that we always have, right? Is it submitted or is it merged, right?
So,
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. Like you have to get through the whole review process. If you start, it's like, turning in your homework too late.
Yeah.
You have
Well, and
Well-
we used to have exceptions.
Untrue, because here's the thing, we've had plenty of cases where people have submitted something and it's sat for 6 weeks. And especially when you get towards the end of a release.
Or I guess, getting a court to review it. I thought that was on the onus of the driver, right? Bug a core person. actually get reviewed.
Ooh, that's bad. Yeah. So people always reply back, do not ask me to review anything, blah, blah, I'm aware of what's in the queue, blah, 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 blah. So,
I am aware.
yeah. Frowned upon.
This recently came up in the last milestone where we had milestone 2 come, and we had some drivers that didn't make it in, but they were actually passing, and they had been responding to reviews recently, and we re-looked at those, right? So, you know, if you're participating and your stuff's working and we just didn't get to it, then, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. If the driver owner is the most recent responder, then obviously they're doing their part.
Yeah.
Even if there were a few where they got feedback, things they needed to fix, and it stopped 18 months, and we decided to pick it up right towards the deadline. That's just got to be up to us to decide whether we really set that in stone.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have the policy, but I'm still going to go back to the problem that I feel like people are going to lose interest, at least in this.
So that's a good question. Is
I already have.
what mechanism is there to say you're now on your 2-week period? Like, how does that get initiated?
I think that there should just be an easy report generation for it. Like it should be a one-click.
Okay, but once you
Find
click
out.
it, you see this person is this driver has failed. Then what?
We don't want 3 different board people sending random.
Yeah. Right.
Can't the one-click send message?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I
It
always
should be
told.
public too. It should be.
That's why I always
that
did the
everyone's aware of.
communication. I told people don't send anything.
In our weekly meeting, we have like a CI shameless.
Yeah. That's all. Well, actually, that's such a good idea.
Tar and
That-
Something like that, where everyone knows it's switched.
Yeah.
That's what email from one person to.
I agree.
Right.
It's easy. Like,
And
here's the-
we used to have Duncan kind of doing this, but with, you know, his change in responsibilities, he
Well, it's
hasn't
always
been
going
able
to
to
be
do
that
that.
an individual has to do it.
Right.
We get busy, so that's a single point of failure. It should be either a weekly meeting thing or a mailing list thing or.
Correct.
If we just bring up the meeting and somebody in the meeting says, okay, I'm going to email them. Doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
Truly,
I mean-
the whole group on IRC, somebody.
And
You
you
can't
should
be on
have,
the mailing list with the Cinder tag.
and if you're going to do that, you need to have a template that you send that is the same to every. Like, you need to have a template. It looks more formal.
Well, how about like, Sean already has a template for the meeting where we talk about this, that, and the other. How about talk about drivers that are, going to get the email, and you, as people discover those drivers, they put it on the meeting agenda, and every Wednesday we say, okay, well, here's these two drivers are on our list. And then
No, what I mean is that when you decide that someone is going to be, you need to send them an email. Say, you're in your 2-week period. That email needs to be a standard email. And needs to
I'd
be
like to see it
template.
CC to the mailing list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saying, this is going out to this driver company. We all see it. And
Yeah.
any responses, hopefully they include just the mailing list so everybody can kind of know what's going on.
Well, the template should say, please reply all.
Yes, and
Yeah.
if you don't or don't, and then it should also say that, in 2 weeks, the reversion patch goes up in 1 week.
Yes.
So one other question is, we have 30% period. So I like goals, but I like realistic goals.
It's going to be a lot longer than the 2-week period earlier.
Well,
Yeah, what
I feel
happened?
like, so 50%, I think we're going to end up dropping about 60 drivers. Trying to do that.
Okay, so
Like,
what?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah. It might be ours now.
Shit.
Can we maybe like put a question mark there and check to see what it looks like now for most drivers? The threshold of like where we feel is like the right amount of drivers to make an example.
Yeah, we don't want to fix that.
Well, okay, let's take in 2 weeks from now and see what that looks like.
Let's find out what gives us a 70% passing rate.
Yeah.
With that. Right?
Yeah.
But so that the other thing we keep ignoring too, and I'm sorry to bring it up, I really am, because I don't want to even talk about this, but What about reliability? Because we keep ignoring that. We've ignored that since day one. So
I mean, they're
Consistency.
failure when it's.
yeah, there's CIs that I don't think have ever passed.
There's some that report a lot because they report about 10 seconds after you drop the vacuum.
Yeah, I just
and then
pinged
like
one of my guys about that.
So reporting on 50% and
Success.
passing, on what, 75%? 4%?
I mean, you obviously have to have at least some. Like sometimes DevStack just doesn't want to stack,
Yeah.
and so you'll have every CI will have some failures because of that. But
If DevStack didn't start, don't post anything. We don't want to know when DevStack didn't start.
You don't have that luxury. Duncan
Well, there are some messages unstable ones that have failed.
yeah,
I wonder, I played a bunch of drivers about this, I think, last cycle, is you would get failures that I think were get clone failures or maybe bypass stuff, and they all report in your patch saying merge conflict.
Oh my God.
Different from ATS, because that means you need to retard your patch. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
That was like a Zool problem.
Yeah.
wait, does Garrett have the ability to post something other than failure and success?
You can post whatever you want.
Yeah, so
Maybe
there's-
we can scrape
But
that.
Zool and the third-party CI tools do not. They have, and that's why the merge conflict thing came up, and that's why I told Duncan you don't necessarily have the ability to say, oh, you did this or you did that.
It failed for a reason not
Right.
related to the driver.
That's what unstable is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you're reporting unstable. Yeah. But I don't think our idiot.
I made the thing somewhere in my backlog to figure out how to do it with DevStack 8 and all that. You need to, it doesn't just work right out the box. So like wrap everything, catch errors, make sure that Jenkins doesn't exit anything anywhere. Because as soon as it any of the shells, they exit one, you get errors.
Let's just start with 2 weeks and the 50% reporting first and see where that puts us. And then
So for right now, we don't care about a percentage passing that we're looking at as well.
If it's 100% failure, I think
Well,
that should be it.
fairly obvious.
So has anyone ever tried to do stats on how many bugs have been prevented by developers?
Yeah.
Because I'd be really curious to know. I think it's a very small number.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's true.
About 7 or 8 from the pure CI.
And
Over a year and a half.
there was
I've got a lot
also
of man years to catch the big bugs.
Yeah.
there was I can't remember what the driver was, but there was also where somebody made a change to an object or something like that, and then it actually broke their driver just because they were using things incorrectly with that object. I can't remember.
Is that a dict versus object changes?
No, I really can't remember. They were expecting like some sort of attribute, not a key from a dictionary or anything like that. But
So the only reason I mention this is because we've sunk an insane amount of effort into this for years, and I would really love to be able to like see that it work and give us something.
well, I mean, so
I
but
think books are not the
compare
only
us right now to like Neutron. I mean, they don't even know.
Well,
But-
I don't follow Neutron enough.
But maybe that's the point, is I don't think Neutron even cares.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Yeah.
But shouldn't the vendors care? I mean,
They're the ones that are going to get the calls.
right, but maybe that's a radical question, but the fact is, maybe openstack-cinder shouldn't care one bit about CIs. And if you want to CI everything, you can, and you can say, hey, this is a bug, -1.
I think that the discussions that we've had over the last 3 years or whatever since Atlanta on this, and the amount of effort and time and energy and everything else has been a complete waste. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think, hey, if you run CI, good for you. That's awesome. I think this whole thing of trying to police it and require it and set up these rules and blah, 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 I think it's crap.
The reason I asked that
Well-
question is because I kind of
Well, so there's the sunk cost fallacy, which says, well, we put so much effort into it, we've got to make it work, but maybe not.
So
I
does
think
it
it's in your best interest to make it work.
does it get
But-
vendors
but-
to interact more?
But the community,
Like, does it get vendors to actually come and interact with the Cinder community, whereas they wouldn't before?
I think to some degree it does.
Yeah.
Well, the other
I mean-
thing too is like there was for new drivers too. I mean, there was like I don't know. I mean, I guess you implement the API, but, you know.
Yeah.
So first, I'll get to that, but first, since I cut Patrick off,
So I think the efforts to get CI systems for drivers is not necessarily wasted effort. I do think that the tests we're running are a waste of time. So Tempest tests don't do shit to test your driver. Like the number of like issues that we find for like pure, right? Like I would say like 1% come from Tempest tests, maybe. Like, and that's a clear indication that Tempest tests don't test driver functionality enough, right?
But I think there's Tempest tests which tell you that that's not on purpose.
Right, exactly. And I don't think I'm not saying there's a problem with Tempest. I think that Tempest solves a problem that we're not trying to like address, right? Yeah. So I think there's efforts to get like functional tests and things like that. And I think if we have better tests, the third-party CIs would be more useful because like a lot of Tempest stuff, like our driver periodically fails because it couldn't SSH into some instance that was booted testing some Glance API.
that stupid
I don't give a
test
shit
needs
about
to
that.
die in a fire.
Yeah, and it's like, it has nothing to do with whether I can take a snapshot of my volume or not, right? So if we invest more time in the tests, and we have all the infrastructure, right? Like every vendor at some point at least had a CI system. If we have those CI systems running useful things, I think we're going to get a lot more benefit out of it.
Yeah, didn't the functional stuff get pulled in too? The tree?
Yeah, but there's not really any like tests for it, and there's no instructions or rules for CIs running it. Or,
And it wouldn't be any.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, is that where you would propose?
Yeah. Like functional tests,
So
like
I'm
more
sure the entry Tempest.
functional. So entry Tempest and like the whole dev stack, that doesn't do much, right? It'll get some things, but I don't care if the Cinder API works. I want to know if my driver works, right?
Look for having those entry tests so that we could have some failure scenarios and things like that to get those actually exercising code paths that I think what Tempest doesn't. I think the question is whether we're going to find that's actually possible.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
sure of the answer there.
difficult.
You have something to say?
Yeah, it was for a little while. I'm tired. A little bit, but
Well, we sure would have some more time freed up to write tests. We're talking with all the CI failures and talking about it. That sort of goes back to the idea of why do we as a community care about individual vendors' CIs fail.
So at least the existence of the CI, I feel like a large part of why I even get to be here is because Cinder has the CI, and that means that my company has some skin in the game. And so I get to be here because of that. And I'm sure that if we got rid of the CI completely, they'd be like, sure, yeah, dev the Cinder driver, but you don't have to interact with the community. Like, there's really no reason for it. So
I mean,
Well,
and then I guess, putting my foundation hat on, like, I would say then it's like I was saying earlier, I don't really believe that the project should really care. I think we're circling back to that now. So, and I agree. I don't think they should.
there's only so much of a bucket of time
But-
and energy we all have to do stuff.
Right. This is what I was saying earlier. People were wondering why I was going on a rant. Because I don't think, when you realistically think about it, like, I don't think people that are actually working on the core API actually have time for it. And I think instead there is an interested group in the community that would love to validate on this because they want to see a healthy marketplace on it. So, like, I think the projects should be the ones that enforce what should be the validation, and then that community should carry that forward.
Meaning, create the right testing.
Well, yeah, create the right testing, but so far what we have right now is what this team has agreed upon already, and that's what they're using right now. So, and we can change that, of course.
yeah, we can change that.
Yeah.
We
But
as in my group, have invested a lot in our CI system and have relied on it heavily to ensure that the changes that we make to our drivers, which we do all the time, fixing bugs, we rely upon that CI to tell us if we've broken something. So to say that, it's it's not something that we should, or it's something that we shouldn't or don't have value in because we haven't reported bugs based upon it, isn't necessarily true.
So
I think it's not the purpose of it. It's to make sure that, you know, the changes that we're making going forward aren't necessarily breaking things or making things worse. Or
So just to be clear, so my opinion on it is not that it's, I'm definitely not saying that I don't think it's valuable and you shouldn't have it. I'm certainly not saying, oh, everybody just disband your CIs and quit running. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I am so sick and tired of having this conversation about CI every time we get together. I don't really care. I don't care if you have a 70% fail rate. I don't care if you only run once every 2 weeks. That's your own fault. If you're not an adult and you don't care enough to keep things running and provide a quality, stable driver for your customers to use and stuff like that, I don't care. It's not my problem. I mean, frankly, if you're not professional and adult enough to want to test your shit and make it work, which we used to have, is why we did this, then fine, it's your problem.
Well, this was the same, my take on it, which is the same as the argument or the discussion about getting drivers out of tree. It's fine to do that, but then if they're not doing that and someone pulls down Cinder and tries to run against the back and blows up, it looks bad for that vendor, but it also makes Cinder look like a piece of shit.
Yeah, I get that.
John?
I guess the thing that I would say too is, you know, we talked about before is an automated reporting somewhere other than Garrett that shows the test history and the status and everything else, so that customers, like a dashboard, so that customers, when they're deploying a cloud and they're buying a, you know, setting up a cloud and they decide what components to use, they use that as a reference. If they don't use that as a reference and they never looked at it, well then.
So the other thing that goes on here, though, John, is somebody was complaining earlier about storage vendors having to certify their stuff with every distribution. The only possible way you can get rid of that is by making the upstream certification any good. If you're saying screw the upstream certification, you're back to every storage vendor having to independently validate with every distribution because the distributions have no other choice. You're taking that away.
So hold on. So you're absolutely right. That was me that was talking about that. That wasn't somebody. That was me. But the reality is, the reality is that the vendor, the distributions are not going to sign off on that. That's not going to fly. So I'm going to be doing double the effort anyway. So pick one or the other. I don't care which. But the other thing is, if somehow we were lucky enough to say, okay, upstream testing is sufficient and that works, which will never happen, but if we did, then we need to actually make automated, stable, and well-defined processes. Because what we have right now isn't. Sorry. It's just, we've never progressed from stage one. So, and as far as new drivers, because somebody started to say that, the way we used to do it is we had a script, and you had to run this new script and post the results. Which is kind of lame, but it worked. But it worked.
Well, and the main thing about that was that if something that was found to not work at all, and the driver later could be like, well, this guy lied about it.
Exactly. Yep. Anyway, I mean, like I said, we talk about this every time, and it's kind of annoying. And so we might as well bring up the drivers out the tree, too.
So before we go on to that, I'd like to make one more comment. As someone who reviews drivers a lot, first thing that I do when I do a review on a driver is go look at their CI. If it's not reporting or reporting a failure, that review immediately gets a -1.
I think that's significant. The number of vendors that submit drivers was supposedly saying, here, this is ready, and then their CI fails on it. And it's not just a CI setup failure, it's an actual failure. Well, obviously, we can't just trust what these guys are saying. They're saying their driver's ready, and they can't prove it.
And that also, there's kind of a hidden thing there, is that if their CI is failing due to non-driver related issues, which happens a lot, the guy who's managing that CI now gets an immediate heads up.
Yeah.
Before this whole new policy process even kicks off, right? So it gives them a heads up beforehand that, oh, something's going on, and so there's value there for me as a reviewer to see third-party CI reporting, and even if the reporting is a failure or not there, what that's worth.
For now,
Lose again.
Go with this policy. And
Talk about it next month cycle. About.
But I would
think this isn't the way we get past step one. We can start on.
I don't think it addresses the policing problem, though. I'm pretty sure people are going to lose interest. Predicting that
Well,
right
but
now.
I think what John's saying is people have to police their own, and if they don't, that's their problem.
Well, but that's if we do want people to police their own, then we don't need any of that stuff.
So
we don't remove anybody based
Yeah.
on their failures.
I mean,
do we
I
value?
agree with what John's saying. That's why I'm saying, like, I don't think this group should really worry about it. I think we should set what we want.
Part of the reason I want this.
No. You are not understanding what I'm saying. You could still. I'm saying we don't have this discussion over and over. I am saying yes, you could look at those results and you can enforce on those results. But what I'm trying to get at is that, for whether or not a driver gets removed, I mean, I don't think we should have to police on that over and over.
And I see this as a step towards not having to police that, because now we've got some actual criteria that we can automate and take that burden off of people doing, and start writing scripts to do it for us.
Okay. I will quote you on this and talk to you next mid-cycle.
And maybe it fails.
Try. I do think. I mean, regardless.
I think
whatever we do, automation is the key, right? It has to be automated.
All right.
And we can't get something automated if we're kind of, well, okay, you said you need a little more time, all right. Set some policies and enforce it. We got to write the algorithm before. Yeah.
It goes without saying, but then it's the job of all of us in the room to set an example, as far as how we manage our CIs, which I think I'm preaching to the choir. But.
So I have a follow-up to this brick CI.
Oh, yeah.
Do we re-implement this whole policy there too? We have,
I just turned it.
there's several CIs that have never reported. There's a CI on the patch that Kendall and I are working on. Coolbite has been reporting as a failure since April. We've done nothing with it.
State policy would apply to all.
Okay, then I'll revert it. I'll put up the removal patch, or we implement against the policy going forward and notify.
But this also goes with the backup drivers too. So when we talked about this in the IRC meeting, and then later on, I was bringing up the fact that there's no coverage, so we can't even do.
I think that Ivan and someone, Ivan's
No, I
coworkers
argued
working
against
on
Ivan because he wanted to enforce it with those 2 tests that exist for backups, and I was like, no, and it seemed like there was an agreement in the channel that no, we don't have enough coverage. So yeah.
He's writing tests. I mean,
Oh,
his
okay.
coworkers writing tests.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so that's cool. So he's
Tempest has refused several backup tests because they take so damn long to run.
Speak up, you're probably just going to be right.
You can put them in trees and turn them on for the right jobs.
Yeah.
In case you missed that, John Gay was saying, well, we could probably start putting these into our own functional tree directory.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was just saying that people did try and write backup tests, and Tempest said no.
Yeah.
There are 3 or 4 of them that exist as patches that got turned down for Tempest.
So I thought a lot of the Tempest stuff was being moved into Cinder tree anyways.
We haven't started moving much in there.
But that was going to be the plan though, right?
Well, it was mainly to be able to do failure scenarios and things like that. That Tempest has said, no, we will not accept that into temperature problems. And doing things like consistency groups where it's not applicable to the LDM drivers.
All right. So it sounds like then backup driver stuff goes there. Just tell Ivan to move it there. And then the backup driver CI stuff will just read off. And that's perfect because then they don't have to deal with all the BS of whatever pattern to get the right backup tests.
Yeah.
That's all we care about, right? We don't want people to run this. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so, and then going back to what Walt was saying, though, with brick, it would still be the same tempest test, right? Yeah.
Because it involves Nova and Cinder and attaching and all that.
Now, our policy on that is that
What?
if you have a vendor-specific connector.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
We're not requiring all the iSCSI and FC drivers to have their own CI yet, right now.
No. We
it's
just need to
the
make sure the
special part of-
connectors themselves are covered, and we have had volunteers from Pure, 3PAR to test FC and iSCSI.
We have
So those are
we sometimes
covered.
run user requests for that, but it's not like constantly.
It's not a requirement of all third-party vendors to add the correct CI. We just need to make sure the connectors themselves are covered.
Yeah.
And if you're a vendor that has special iSCSI things that you do, and you're not doing a brick connector CI, then that's your problem.
Yeah, because you'll know whenever we do a brick release and understanders,
Yeah.
So if you think that's going to happen, brick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty self-managed.
Yeah.
So you're waiting on a CI from Z-Series right now, right?
There's a lot of connectors in there that don't have CI at all.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Third-party specific.
They have them in Cinder,
Yeah.
but it's not brick yet.
Right.
And there's Cobite, which has CI, but it's been reporting failing, or not reporting since April.
Right.
It's very easy to do, yes. The one catch with removing brick connectors is that it will then break Nova.
Well,
You better make sure to have the removal merge first before done.
Nova wants things in Cinder before Nova, so.
That's right.
Removal policy for brick, I don't think we need to stay in the Cinder. Are we going to do that? Because it's going to be a lot more painful to do.
You think we should have a different policy?
Well, if you remove it from Cinder, you don't have to remove it from brick. It's not like it's going to be usable. You're still going to get the desired result.
Oh, you're saying if it fails in brick, you just remove the driver from Cinder?
No, if I remove the code from brick, I get code. And I'm saying I don't think we want to do that.
But what do you do if they fail to remove their drivers from Cinder?
If the brick CI
If their brick CI is failing, their Cinder CI is going to fail. So,
So just let it run its course and.
or you can decide to remove the Cinder driver before then. If you want to do it. I would.
Cut a brick release and milestone 3, and then there's CI server failures. We said earlier, all drivers milestone 3.
Well, I don't think we should.
Oh.
But then are we going to hold back everything else in brick because that one is right? So before that, it's going to have a problem.
Oh, actually,
That's the problem I have right now.
it's never because that's the first
Access, I have to do it.
Yeah, so it should be
But it's a really simple change, really. And it pulls out the individual connectors that have connected that pi into individual files. But it adds a new factory, which is very different. And some of the connector CIs are failing. And I don't know, and can't know, if it's a failure due to their CI just doesn't work, which is what the case looks like for Cobite.
Well, that's what the CI logs are supposed to put in.
Yeah, it does. In the case of Cobite, their CI system is really broken.
Yeah, I don't even think they're reporting on Cinder right now. They're one of them that I contacted that said that they're working.
So, with respect to the other connectors that aren't reporting, specifically with this patch, because it's a big change, and I don't want to break anyone, but if they're not reporting,
How do we know if we're breaking them or not?
do we go to what John says, just don't care because they're not
Merge it and see.
Well, we'll see it. Brick. And there is a trade-off. Ratio is a little different.
It is.
It would
is really the question of we would use the reporting to determine whether this patch should be merged in. They're not reporting.
Yeah,
That's what
that's,
we're supposed to do. Well, that would be great. That would be great.
we can take this offline if you want, but it's a concern to me with patch that I have. So.
I guess the question is, would we rather accidentally break something and ship it anyways, or just completely rip out the connector?
Right.
Which one's worse?
I'd rather accidentally.
Either way, Nova can't attach with that connector, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we have to change our library where it's very attached to the urgent traffic. For free.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe.
Yeah, that's bad.
They already don't like us. So.
I wouldn't pull it out. I think removing it is better.
So it sounds like put a warning.
Merging the
Merge
word
it
in
in
is
there.
a better option.
Yeah, you could log a warning message.
Yeah.
Error. These guys suck.
Yeah. Okay.
Address of the third-party CI maintainer.
Yeah.
That's not a bad
Not a
idea.
bad idea.
Contact.
Okay. That horse is dead.
Mm.
I bet we'll feed it some more tomorrow. So I think the first thing on the agenda is testing. Not third party testing.
Other testing.
Are we done?
Yeah, I think this is probably a good spot to cut things.
Well,
What's the dinner plan? Great figure.
Eat what?
So we try to just drop in something.
Austin's.
There's a ton of stuff around here. That'd be up for us. If we wanted to drop in and it was one big table, that's kind of hard.
well, you could just show up and break up into tables. Like the long table thing isn't really effective anyways. You can-
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, awesome.
Just there.
4:30.
What time?
It's 4:30 right now.
Whoever's at my table, fireball shots the whole way.
Yeah. And then back to the hotel. 'cause
For
I have
Mark.
a whole handle.
Yeah.
Anybody interested in Austin?
Then that's wigs. There's no shots.
Yeah, yeah, not full,
Yeah.
full
Go to
bottle.
the bar before you do the Austin's, and then I can't remember what kind of food Austin's has.
American.
It's just like American.
American.
Burgers, french fries,
I know I said there.
coleslaw.
We eat at